mixed in between parents, school leaders, members of the council. As people trickle in, Mr. Pennington is going to help me continue to facilitate everyone's seating, and if need be, we will collapse certain groups together if we don't get more people in. But I wanted to thank everyone for joining us this evening as we open our first community town hall to start engaging and soliciting feedback from the community that will inform the work that we will be doing for the 2025 budget year. And tonight is an opportunity for us to listen from the community, take feedback from the community about what are your hopes and aspirations, if money was no obstacle, that you would like to see us bring forward as we plan the new budget. It's also an opportunity for us to come in as a community and elevate some of the issues that we need to continue to resolve, and we need to elevate to do the work more effectively. With me today, we have our CFO, Mr. Lunda Asmani, who will be providing an overview and introduction of the budget process and some of the key points that I think are important for us as a group to have context with. And I also have the chair of the Finance Committee that I would like to welcome forward so that she can share a few words with you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to the Board of Education Town Hall. My name is Sherry McCready-Pritchett, and I am chair of the Finance Committee. The purpose of this meeting is to really listen to all of you and to hear what you have to say so that we can gather information that will allow the administration to develop and craft a budget that represents the interests of the community. We look forward to engaging with you this evening, and we look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you for attending.
And now I'd like to turn it over to our wonderful CFO, Lunda Asmani, that will give you an overview of our process.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Sherry, Finance Chair. And thank you all for being here this evening. What I would like to do is just to give you a brief overview. I'm not going to spend more than 10, 15 minutes, just to give an overview of our budget process, our budget cycle. And then after that, I will hand the mic over to the Superintendent, and then we will get into our conversation. But before I do that, I do want to acknowledge members of the budget team that are here tonight. I have Kristen, I have Joe in the back, working on his laptop, crunching numbers, and then I also have Nina with me as well. We have one member of the budget team, Tori Walker, who's not with us this evening, but this is the group that puts most of this work together on an annual basis. So the budget process is cyclical. It actually mirrors the Board of Ed budget process mirrors closely the city budget process. We typically begin in October, which is this time that we're in now. We start looking at how do we close out the year. We put together what's called a pro forma budget, which basically just looks at what are the things that we're doing now, what are these things costing us now, staffing, programs, things like utilities and those types of things. So we start to put that budget together. And then with that information, we ask our departments then to start looking at here's where we are and what are some of the things programmatically that we need to shift, we need to do next year, what things are working, what things are not working. So that process begins with kind of like the central office departments that support our support departments, our curriculum department, transportation, all of those things that support the work that happens in the schools. And then with that information this year, obviously this is part of that information gathering, then the superintendent will put together a recommended budget based on the feedback, based on the needs, based on guidance that we get from the city as well, in terms of what is the overall financial picture of the district and of the city. And then with that, we meet again with the Board of Ed, and the board puts together their, what we call the tentative approved budget, which is the official submission of the board budget to the city. Starting in around January through May, then the Board of Ed's budget is combined with all of the other city departments, police, parks, what have you, that are on the city side. And therefore, our colleagues on the city side, our elected officials, the council member, Board of Estimates and Taxation, they also begin to look at our budget, but not in silo, in conjunction with the overall city budget. So they look things at what is the overall request, what are the tax implications, how is this going to impact the mill rate, the fund balance, and all of those things. So the city then sits with all of our departments, including the Board of Ed, and we kind of start mapping and having conversations about overall priorities citywide. Around April or so, then we begin the process of engaging our schools. So on the school side, obviously with 12,000 students, the last couple of years, we developed what's called student-based budgets. And the student-based budgets essentially look at the needs of our students, the needs within the schools, what are the priorities, what are the programs. At that point, we develop a per pupil allocation, and we put together budgets working with our principals and all of our other leaders within the schools. It is thus not working with the principals, but we also include our central support. So how does this school operation impact transportation? How will this program impact curriculum and textbooks? What are some changes in curriculum that are happening, and what is the requirement for those changes? How do we review our enrollment? How are our multilingual learners, how many of them do we have? What types of services do we need? We look at students that need specialized services. How many of them exist in your school? We currently have 5 tiers of students needing specialized services, from tier 1 through 5. And therefore, we have a cost allocation depending on the needs. We drill down to as much as how much time is spent per student, depending on their needs. And so that is also factored in addition to the general ed cost per pupil, but what is that incremental cost to educate a student who is learning English or who has specialized needs? So all of that happens during this time frame. It happens in parallel to when the city is going through the budget process for approval. And then sometime in May, the city will approve an overall budget for the city, which includes the appropriation for the Board of Education. At that point, we will then look at what is that final number from the city and reconcile that funding amount with the city with our programmatic needs. So we make some adjustments then, and then usually in June, we adopt a final budget that is reconciled with what the city has appropriated for our department and other departments in general. So that's kind of the process. We do have multiple touch points where we have an opportunity to engage with the public and to get feedback. This is one of those. This is actually the second such touch point this fiscal year. We did have a public hearing, a joint public hearing in September between the city and the Board of Ed. This was actually the first of its kind. The city recently updated our charter, and this is now ingrained in the charter. And so we had that meeting in September, and we got some feedback. Today we're here on our community town hall to get another opportunity to engage with you. We will gather this information. We will actually have another town hall similar to this in November. At that point, we will have a sense of numbers, how much is being requested. We will know what the guidance from the city is in terms of the overall spend and all that. So we'll do that in November. And then in December, on December 11, is when we will have another board workshop. At that point, we would have gathered all the feedback, all the information, all the numbers. The Board of Ed will have a workshop where the superintendent at that point will present her recommended budget. What we have done this year to continue the dialogue, at the December 11th meeting, we have actually invited, and we hope we will have members of the Common Council and the BET be part of that conversation, just to get a better understanding of how the budgets are built, how the budget is put together. Because in prior years, we do have an opportunity to present to these city boards, but we only have one meeting, and sometimes we feel like there isn't enough opportunity to share information. So this would be an opportunity to kind of get ahead of that and start getting some preliminary information on the budget, but we'll still continue to have those further conversations. So In February, our Common Council Finance and Claims Committee also holds a public hearing on the citywide budget, which includes the Board of Ed. In March, the Board of Estimate and Taxation will also hold another public hearing, and that will be an opportunity for us to provide input again, not just on the board budget, but on the overall city budget. In April, the Common Council Economic and Community Development Committee actually reviews the capital budget, and they make their final recommendations on the capital budget after the mayor has made his recommendations on the capital budget. And then again, as I shared earlier, this year it'll be on the 4th of June where the Board of Ed will reconcile the budget and approve the final budget for us. So that's kind of the process. And so with that, just to give you some context, I wanted to kind of share some key achievements that the district is celebrating this year. For 2023, the class of 23, our graduation rate rose to 91.6%, up from 91 in 2022, with our MLL learners showing the greatest improvement in graduation. And that has been intentional efforts just to make sure that everyone that goes to Norwood Public Schools has an opportunity to graduate on time. I believe every time I talk to a superintendent, she would like that number to be 100%. And so we are working towards that. So we have ways to go, but we are celebrating that our graduation rate did increase this past year. We also have a program, two programs, Future Ready programs, Twilight and Virtual Academy. We have about 100 students in these programs. So these are students that are not able to complete their high school education in the traditional path for various circumstances, but we have this program that also allows them to also graduate with their peers. And so we're celebrating this. We have increased graduation rates here as well. Most of these assignments are project-based, positively impacting our graduation rate as well. And again, as far as the arts are concerned, because we take a holistic approach, for the 5th consecutive year, the National Association of Music and Merchants Foundation has recognized Norwood Public Schools as the best community for music, one of the best communities for music education. So we're very proud. We're very proud about that. We have a teacher of the year here, and she's nodding her head. So yes, we're very excited about that. When you look at how we compare with other communities within the state, Connecticut is interesting in that you have our city school districts and then you have our town school districts. And so oftentimes when we make the comparison, it's not an apples to apples comparison. However, if you compare our index with cities with populations over 70,000, we have similar demographics, similar types of students. And this chart kind of shows how Norwalk fares with some of these other, what we call city school districts. So you can see here, for example, in English language arts, based on the district performance index, the state average in 2024 was 63.9. Norwalk actually leads all of these other city schools in English language arts. Now, we're not where we want to be. We realize, we recognize, we have still room to grow. But I think it is worth celebrating that when you compare us with like schools, we're doing well. And the same story holds for our math and our science scores as well. When you look at our English language arts, percent of targets achieved, this means that at the beginning of, at a touch point, you have a target of what your student should be at, and so you measure yourself on your attainment of that target. So this is really a very outcome-based assessment. And again, when you look at this, you see that, again, Norwalk ranks #1 compared to all other city schools within the district. So this is really something to celebrate for our public school system. Another celebration we have, obviously collaborating with the city, collaborating with our state delegation. This year, we were able to receive $21 million in various air conditioning grants for our schools. Some of you that live here and have had schools go through the system, you may remember those warm summer days when we have early dismissal because schools don't have air conditioning. What we do know is a well air-conditioned room is great for students and also great for staff and everybody that works in that building. So we are really excited that we partnered with the state to receive this grant, but we're even more excited that the city actually invested because this was a collaboration and there was money that the city had to put down to get these facilities up and running. And so the city did, through their bonding authority, also provide funding for this. So we're very excited that we're able to qualify for this. And then finally, we have two new schools that you probably know are going up within our school district, Norakai and P-Tech. That is a $239 million project with $191 million coming from the state. We received an 80% reimbursement, which is just amazing. And again, that is through the efforts of our state delegation and our colleagues on the city side as well. And we have a South Norwalk school that's going up for $76 million with a 60% reimbursement from the state at $39 million. So there's plenty of things to celebrate, and I share this just to kind of provide some context as we begin to get into our tables. This chart kind of tells the story I shared before when we build our school-based budget. What is our student profile? And so when you look at overall students of just under 12,000, we do have our MLL students, and this chart kind of shows you the overall count. You'll see that the bars, I think there's a pointer. You'll see that the bars are increasing, so we are seeing an increase in MLL students. However, the dotted line that goes with it is comparing our rates with the state overall MLL rate. So you'll see that although the state rate is this green line, so we are trending slightly higher in overall percentage of MLL students across the state. This chart to the right is looking at our specialized learner students, and this is we call it prevalence rates. It's the number of students as a percentage of our population that have special needs. And so you can see that the total number is also increasing, but the rate has also been increasing steadily. However, you will see that our prevalence rate is actually below the state level. So although we're seeing an increase in specialized learners, we are below the average in the state for that. And then I think this is my final slide, close to the final slide, is just looking at, obviously, we keep saying that we are a people business. 85 to 86% of our overall budget is staff. That's what we do. And this chart kind of shows where our staff live and where the staff work. And so on this side, we have a number of positions that are funded by the local budget, and we have a number of positions that are funded by grants. This is a point in time. I think this was maybe May last year, Kristen, when we did this? Yeah. But in any event, the chart doesn't deviate much in terms of where our students are, where our staff is. So you can see that obviously most of our staff work in elementary schools, which is kind of logical, followed by our high schools and our middle schools. And between all of the staff distribution, almost 89 to 90% of our staff are working directly in schools with our children. The balance of these are things like transportation services that are not directly in schools. You have your finance and HR support that support our schools. You have our communications team that is here that support our schools. So these are essentially central services or support services that directly support our schools. But the majority of our employees live and work in our buildings, and that's why it is so important to invest in our schools. That's why we were so excited about the HVAC grants, because those have the greatest impact for the people that provide educational services to our children. So finally, since we're here, talk about budgets. I should probably talk about budgets. So this is kind of showing where our overall budget has been. Currently, our overall budget for the general fund was approved at $233 million, which was the base was 3% over last year. Fortunately, for the last 2 years, the city was fortunate to receive some grants from the federal government flowing through the state, what we call ARPA grants. So in 23-24, even though the overall budget that was approved, which was 4%, was $226 million, working with the city was able to appropriate an additional $2.5 million from those ARPA dollars to offset or to provide additional support for our school system. And the same was true for this current year, the budget that was approved in May. We were able to get an additional allocation of $1.8 million to support our school operations. And so this is, again, just looking at that slide in a chart format. You can kind of see how the Board of Ed has been funded over the years. So last FY24, we were at 4%. This current year, we were at 3%. But if you combine that additional funding that we were able to be provided, we actually saw an increase of 5.1%, and this year, 3.8%. The reason I share this slide is because that I combine all of those because that is the total amount that we have to operate, just to continue to do what we do. And therefore, when we move forward with the request, our starting point is actually 235. That is the total resources that we have, and therefore we would be looking at that as kind of the base, and we'd be looking to see what are the increments over that, salaries and payroll and those types of things. We also know that there are a couple of things that are happening this year that we also have to address in the budget. Next year, we are excited that we'll be opening a brand new school in South Norwalk. We know that that school not only will educate some really, really excited students, but there will be additional cost. It's a totally new building that the district has never had. So we'll have to have custodial services, we'll have to have utilities, we'll have to have gas, we'll have to have water, and so there's nothing we can do about that, but we know that that's coming, and so therefore, as we build this budget, we'll be factoring things like those into the budget. We also know that, as I showed the chart on specialized learners, that not only has the prevalence rate been increasing, but we do have a number of students that we send out of district just because of capacity issues. And over the years, our out-of-district costs have been increasing as well, so we pay that. However, we have actually been sending fewer students out of district. Many of our increased students that require those services have stayed within Norwalk, and I think at some point during the budget process, we will show you slides of the number of out-of-district students that we place. That has actually remained relatively flat. So in Norwalk, we have been able to service many of our specialized needs within the resources of Norwalk. A couple of years ago, the city and the board agreed to invest in our capacity to provide special ed services, and so those programs have really, really benefited us in terms of avoiding those additional costs for outplacement. My final slide, some of the things that we're looking at for next year, as I shared. Obviously, we did have that additional infusion from the city for 2 consecutive years that has greatly allowed us to provide all of these services within the district. We recognize that those were one time and they're going away. So one of the things that we have to address in this budget, how do we continue to fund those services with the expiration of some of those one-time items? I shared about special education. We are seeing some increased provider rates as well that are kind of driving that, and so those are some of the things we'll be addressing within the budget. We were fortunate last year to receive an additional $1.2 million in grants through the Alliance grant. We are not yet sure if this is a one-time infusion or if this will continue, but we were able to, as an Alliance district, we were able to receive that funding, so we're closely monitoring that. We hope that that stays, but if that funding goes away, then obviously we will need to try and figure out what we do. One of the things that we attempted to do last year, but we were not able to due to funding limitations, was this concept of pathways. We know, for example, that not every student is college bound. There are some students that would like to go into vocations, different types of vocations. And so one of the things that we began to look at with our partners is this concept of the HVAC certification for some of our students. When we looked at this last year, I think the overall cost was going to be about $450,000 to $500,000. We were obviously not able to do it this fiscal year because of the funding limitations. But again, in looking at how can we best serve our students, especially those that do not go to college, having these different types of pathways is something that many school districts are doing, and that's something that we'll continue to explore this year. For those of you that were at the public hearing, I think 2-3 weeks ago, not only Norwalk, but the nation has some serious staffing shortages when it comes to education. Some of the things we're hearing is for quite some time, Norwalk was ahead in terms of teacher pay, and so we were able to attract a lot of teachers from our neighboring districts. Many districts have now caught up with us, so we don't necessarily have that same advantage anymore. And what other districts are now doing is they're offering signing bonuses and stipends to staff to go to their schools. So one of the challenges that we have to address is how can we recruit and retain teachers within our district, because we're losing some really qualified teachers, and I see principals in the room nodding their heads because they've had to deal with that firsthand. With that, I'm going to toss the mic back to the superintendent, and she will provide further instructions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asmani. So this provides some context for everybody in the room of some of the work that has happened, that will be happening throughout the scope of the budget process. Today, for us, it's a really important evening because it's an opportunity for us to solicit feedback from you as to what are some of the things, like I said earlier, are your hopes and dreams. If money was not an obstacle, what are the things that would you see us as a district meeting? Before we dive into that component, I want to take 10 minutes and allow you to, as a group, think and process a little bit of what Mr. Asmani presented and like kind of put to life what resonated for you. And we have in the space chart paper, markers, we have central office staff that will act as note-taker facilitators, so they'll help the group in taking notes. And I also want to preface that we have our fabulous board. Can the Board of Education please stand so that the room can recognize your presence here today? Thank you for your service. I also want to acknowledge members of the Common Council who actually postponed their meeting to be with us today. Can you please stand and let's give them a round of applause for being present here today. Thank you for your service. And I will be remiss not to thank my fabulous cabinet and the finance team, as well as members of the instructional team and leadership team that are here in support. So thank you for your service as well. And special thank you for our leaders that are here after a very long day, and our parents that came after a hard day of work to join us in this important conversation, and any other community member that is here to help us think through this work. So I'm going to set the timer for us to engage in this first section of our conversation, which is just thinking about what Mr. Asmani presented and what resonated for you. What are some of the things that are at top of mind given where we are and where we're hoping to move forward? Because I know you have some ideas in your head of what you would like to see. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, also take the opportunity to introduce yourselves and just say a quick thing about who you are in the context of this work.
Big paper. Can you write?
In comparison to other,
No, okay.
in comparison to other counties. Well, these are compared to cities. No, I know, but compared to the other cities, we're one of the top. I know other towns, other cities. Yeah, but even the state overall, we're at 56 cities. Which, I mean, it always, I grew up in Milwaukee. So it's low, and I'm glad it's going up, but it's like, it seems like it's stuck. So I'm what could we do to improve the cover notice? Where is that different? I know everything is going to digital and computers. I've also seen it inhibit a lot of kids. Like I did very well in noticing my daughter now too. They do very well on paper tests, but everything is digital. So they're training their eyes. It's not a math test or English, it's actually a computer test. And I've actually seen it where classroom special ed, when I did that computers actually inhibiting them. And I was actually thinking about a couple times she actually did this test on like and the teacher said the same thing. She's like, yeah, this might be a problem. It's saying that she's testing it on she did it on paper, it was on. And then it was like, okay, I asked for an accommodation, and I feel like adding the unnecessary people to the bed and ask for an accommodation. I'm wondering if that is also translated. And that's just how we, because as teachers we know that everyone has a different mode of learning and taking tests, so we're definitely, writing for glasses. It's like extremely blue light. It's very. No, okay. Well, yeah, and I was like looking back to how when I
as important as that is, I put that down below.
and then like thinking about how I did it, and I said, yeah, I said, you know, we had our math test, we had to write them out and show your words, and then it seems like, and like one time it was so ridiculous, she's having problems with her headphones, but she was like, so she like sabotaged herself. So like, you have to tell the teacher. This was last year, so second grade. I was like, you know, we told you have to let her know if you have a problem with your headphones. But she didn't. So it's just like little things like that that I think of. Like, oh, I wonder that might be harming some, that maybe the school would be higher.
Platform rather than away from having them take it directly on the
I don't know if they do that.
That was actually my topic, security thing, until we're
just because we found the benefit of that. Do so it's a lot less like just random.
I jumped in at so I'm just jotting down some notes. First thing we were like for the percentage of the scores, and then the question that I heard from how we motivated the scores. And then the second thing we're wondering was about taking assessments on the computer. Am I correct?
Yeah, so that might be inhibiting some of their, you know, how they, everyone takes tests.
And I agree with you, we do rely so much on what we're giving them. They can add a lot more to just that number.
Which I'm glad the teacher was so great.
In terms of different
which I think is so diversified compared to other towns. So then I also think about how are we able to find and I don't think the data for the state is pretty, so what we do have is snapshot of what other people are doing in terms of as a community we're considered great things. I'm just wondering if in that data, you know, that because I think it's not just the schools, it's also how students engaging with the opportunities that they have.
I think even their feelings about coming to school, being part of the school community.
And like there's just a lot of different components that we can work on. I mean, sometimes it's larger scale, but I think there's so many different components of the whole child that I think we do that I don't think is done. So when Lacey said that it's a snapshot of like some of things, I like,
Any other noticing or wonderings? We have a couple.
You have about 1 minute for this conversation.
I don't know, what is MLL?
Our multilingual learners.
Oh, they change it from ELL?
Yes.
I noticed that in our schools, or like dinner, we're gonna, actually, I'm just gonna read
Well, I
section.
think if you look at
the
the
next
next
one.
it's very interesting to see that elementary schools double
Yes.
the next
There's
great Cambridge High School. However, I know that that's
I mean, unless they change the rules, like sweatshirt, where they usually have like one who like runs around to like all the hair, sometimes four, everything is like for the same thing. You know, like, and then I feel bad. So, you need to come in, I'll come in, I don't care, I'll help you. It's like, use me.
That wasn't me, that was Ralph. So, I'll allow them, some people are wrapping up their last talk box, so give them a second. So, what resonated for folks? Who would like to share? I'll be the teacher that just passes the mic.
Hi, everyone. Well, we talked about staffing. Obviously, we want teachers to be certified in our classes, and we wonder about how we're going to make that happen. We talked about some celebrations about middle school, after-school activities, and facility upgrades.
One more group, what resonated?
Right here. Up we have one. You have to turn yours off.
Cyrus.
I value all the other input, but what I found maybe most important of all, obviously I value facilities and air conditioning and all this other stuff, but the fact that we're losing high quality teachers to other schools and districts and stuff, I think that's something that we should really look at first and foremost. I think a great teacher, in a less, luxurious facility is far more important than not having enough teachers in a great facility. So what we can do to make sure there's more resources. I think a lot of that's more money. I think Norwalk is a pretty great place to work. I don't think that's why it's not attractive, but I think more money needs to go there. People are getting stipends, cost of living is going up. So that was what jumped out at me as far as all this stuff.
So we kind of sort of, to answer your question over there, we kind of sort of had a solution, a potential solution. Given the fact that lots of our newer teachers who are coming out of undergraduate schools or even graduate schools are finding it difficult to move, or even those who live in different parts of the state find it difficult to live in Fairfield County due to the monetary value of some of the homes. There are lots of high-rises that are starting to come up in our city. So if you look around, things are being built all over the city of New York, whether they're condominiums, whether they're high-rises, and if the city can partner with the school district to subsidize the cost for new teachers, then possibly we can start to give an incentive to teachers. It's not necessarily all the time it's a financial value. I mean, you can give a stipend, a monetary stipend, but it's not necessarily the monetary stipend that someone needs. It might be the actual place to live that they might need instead of the actual money that might be the more valuable resource for the person. So maybe that can be in consideration, and possibly if a new teacher signs a 3-year contract over time, we know that we have that person now for 3 years. We have that person now for 3 years, they can save some money, and then now that they're invested in our school district, they can now re-implement that money back into the city and now purchase a home here, so they can be part of our community.
I don't know, can I go over your mic?
This one is too long.
Okay. So,
Dr. Shaw, so the first The first thing I heard was certifications, correct? The certification, staffing, qualified staff, and housing. And, okay, I know, I just want to make sure, so now I know how to move forward. So I'm Kenny Brown, I'm a state rep in Norwalk. So when I create legislation with my buddies at the Capitol, these are things that we kind of sense in here. So like the subsidized housing is very important. So next session going up, there's talks about housing just for teachers and educators. That's a big thing that we're trying to push as well, so that they don't have to drive 30 to 40 minutes from home in order to get to work. So that's a big thing for us. This past session we did pass the, so say if a teacher comes in from like Chicago or elsewhere, we did pass where they can get reciprocity now so they can just come right in and start to teach, which is very important because a lot of teachers are stuck in the past where it's like, okay, I gotta go through this process, this process, this process. No, we've been doing this for years. And our kids deserve you. So I'm excited to hear these type of things. So I just want you guys to know that it's deeply appreciated.
Thank you for that. And, California has been doing this already, and it's working. So there are a lot of models across the country that are doing subsidized housing. I think we're dreaming together, so kudos to that. The conversations already are very rich. And one of the things that I want to walk you through is a protocol that pushes us to have kind of like a brain dump furthering this conversation that already started. And again, putting money aside, thinking about what are all the things that we would like to see in our schools, where we want to have the budget team, the board, think about as we're mapping the budget for 2025, because they're critical in sustaining good programs in our district and continuing to do important work for our students. I mean, Norwalk is on the map. Like today, we have 3 members of our team, of our district present at the state level because the state has noticed that the practices in Norwalk are strong, that what we're doing for kids is great. But in order for us to do that, we need to continue to sustain and further develop our programs. Particularly, like Mr. Aslani mentioned earlier, our student population continues to shift. And with that shift, we need to continue to think about how do we continue to diversify and develop our staff to ensure that they have the skills necessary to continue to support our students, and how do we continue, like we heard, to provide adequate resources and looking at salary scales and things like that to effectively support them in that trajectory as well, including housing. So we're going to take around 30 minutes to allow you to engage in just dumping ideas out of what are the things that we need as a system, and even envisioning what could be possible amongst your team. We have a really diverse group of people here. We have teachers, we have parents, we have community leaders. So we have a lot of brain power here with very diverse perspectives that will allow us to have a great brain dump of ideas that then will allow us then to first look at how we can then condense and think about how do we prioritize. So after we come up with a lot of ideas, then how do we strategically think about what is most essential right now and almost rank things in priority. But for now, let's take 30 minutes and have a rich conversation about if money wasn't a limit, what do we want to see? And then let's just list those things.
Dangerous. All right. That's dangerous. We're just putting ideas and
No, a mí no se lo
what's my concern?
That is his department. It's not just normal. This is the work. I want you to know I taught it. Put that one over there.
And I'd like to start, I think one thing, I guess, is I would love to see, starting biggest impact is our students. resources, teachers in the future, certified staff,
really get behind what we're thinking and kids that are studying.
So how about I say this, we say human resources, but one of the phrases I always know is people over programs.
But that's
Why are you trying to be so smart today, sir? That was amazing.
Not that there's anything wrong with programs.
No, but I
They have to
think
be
that
implemented in fidelity.
And the people that have the right.
Just a quick time adjustment is 20 minutes on the
in biology,
What else?
different areas.
So we started, when we say human resources, we're talking certified and non-certified
Yes.
staff, right?
Kids that are impacted.
I just want to make sure I'm capturing it. What else?
I think also facilities that are, ensuring that all facilities are geared for maximize
In
use.
second grade.
So while we are, as our district is,
Other half.
we see buildings coming up, which means that there's going to be enough space for housing. And then that also means that our schools are equipped for the
Facilities to support.
to support the growth.
You mean like so the
No money.
apartments that are being built,
So
and
as
there's
we
so
are
much,
getting our
there's an
population
influx
and
of
influx of students, so our schools are bursting at the
Schools
seams.
are big, population getting bigger, so we need to.
Yeah. So ensuring that facilities are matching the population that we have.
Growth in.
Or are they going to have out district that we can
Well,
have to expand?
I think that was something.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Times where we don't have program.
And I think also the growth, but also the new staff for the new things. Like we're getting, like for example, we're doing great things, but ensuring that as we're doing all those great things, that our schools are.
If it just stays like that, it's like
I don't, can I piggyback off that? Maybe add to that we're getting these individuals are getting professional development to best support.
We'll do that. Yeah, I'm saying to support the growth and the expansion of programming. And then I guess the next one would be as we expanding programs that people are going to use the professional development that they need to be able to do that with fidelity.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
I didn't say it as just we could get 3 school counselors, but if they don't have that professional development, then how are we best using it?
fill in the blanks.
Nope.
Or Finland?
No, it's on our February break. What else? What are some things that you see? I mean, I think staff is a big one.
Yeah, we're discussing testing, but I'm too critical over there. Yeah,
One of the things that I constantly wonder is how much are we investing to educate our children? You know what I'm saying? Because as we are trying to educate our students and we're trying to change, the way that education is happening, like how can we create a way to invest in parents and different members of our community so they can support the work that we're doing.
So furthering parent engagement.
Furthering parent engagement that includes providing parents with the skills that they need and the support that they need to support their children. Because like for example, my students in language schools, so I have a lot of my students that don't have formal. They can maybe help them in the that's not possible. So is there any girls who can do so that we can level the playing field?
because we have you as a teacher who is most likely pouring into your child, right? But the district is an overall, not just the teacher care, not just the professional care, it's everything.
And I think that would start at the school level with the needs that they get support.
And also that our budgets can support you. I don't have a budget that can support. I have a budget that can support
So we can run
parent involvement, but I don't think it can support parent engagement.
Well, I think like one of the examples is we're offering right now Spanish.
Might it be in the spirit of field trips? My kids right now, we do
Like that's in
programs outside with
we've
the
had
dance.
some classes at the family center,
But how do we bring that
they're
into the
limited.
school
How do
community?
we
Bring that more into a more,
I know last year they were talking
so
about
I think not so much into the school
and I know
community, but how can we provide the community with an opportunity to do that, more targeted to the needs of their, because like for my community, none of my parents even want to do that. 70% of my parents are
one whole building, okay.
Have you seen their I might
No, I haven't.
more values and how to bring
bridging the home to school connection.
Our school always sends home everything we
But even we have parents here, which is amazing, it does it on their own depending on what language you set up. Like we no longer have to do that. Because
It's hard to translate.
I'm an avid, and I say avid to 16, I used to know the word because like my family doesn't think so, but I think that the world was my,
You want me to?
Maybe that was just
I can't, what happened?
I had surgery on Monday for carpal tunnel.
I honestly was gonna say, he knew he was coming here, so he just put that.
You did it
I got a neck brace too in a ton.
What, any other, like, do we want to take, when we say human resources, do we want to talk about anything specific? Like, I think I heard you say when I sit down for that, I heard you say kindergarten.
Yes, I know our school. I think that's my first daughter. Our share of kindergarten, so it's been a few years. They were always shoving parents. Like, I can come in, I can help you, whatever you need. So I felt bad the teachers were always trying to prep or like, oh, I need help with this. Just be patient. Like, oh, so what's the do our best to get classes. One thing that first gets school.
So you think about the budget, special education budget, and the realm budget.
Yeah, big celebration.
How can we intentionally create opportunities for those specialized learners, let's say, to be able to receive services that are going to make them, get them at an equitable level of peers, Yeah, but we have to build the capacity of our staff. But I'm thinking like in terms of budgeting, like when I think about my past lives, I special education person, I think about the special education budget is so fragile because you don't know who's going to come in with whatever special needs. So how can we create the opportunity for it to be a flexibility that is going to be able to address the students that they come into, but they're not always available. So OT and PT, different students. Depends on them, but we do have OT and PT clinics. So they're not just there.
They're not just there in school, it's really dependent on caseload.
Yeah.
So if the school has a significant need, that they move them up.
But even on that instance, we have kids that may have problems, but we have kids that may need intervention, not enough to need the services. Like, I have a lot of kids who can benefit from having some sort of speech therapy that's not necessarily in their community, just because we heard they speak a certain kind of way.
Like giving them that intervention.
Like we do, So how can we provide students with those interventions also prior to them needing a full IEP 5 days a week?
Oh, prior to that,
Prior. Like we do academically, we do tier 1, 2, and 3, but what about children that have
But that's going to come down to the teacher. Because that won't even actually necessarily mean we need more money. Because like for example, I don't know, one time we tried, like that was like my job. Like, do I have really talented?
No, that's one.
Like what the student needed, but sometimes, and especially if you don't have a special ed background, you're not going to know that was a child, like strategist and classroom teacher, and sometimes having a really, or just like, you know, wanted to do that extra bit, like I would just like anticipate and just go like the farthest miles.
Give them a costume.
Anticipate and they were like, you know, the athlete, they didn't need like 10 extra things for an IEP. So like she said, it's going to come, honestly, it's going to come down to the teacher. Or you actually don't really need.
Same with but I also feel like it's the same thing. I wanted a teacher who has, regardless of the school, wants to teach me something big deal.
Oh no, yeah, not to teach there, but yeah,
Like to really identify those. Where's your list?
The next one now.
All right.
Don't worry, we're going.
We're going.
I think to your point, one of the things that all of my schools wasn't on the road. All those schools had
And that's what I feel. That's what I
and one of the things that I struggle with is that every school has one of these. Unless the school has money in their SAV to add a second one, but when you look at needs, some schools have more intervention needs than other schools. And so one school is that something that, well, should it be based on the need? If you have 100 students in your intervention, that's the same school that has 50 kids. And so,
and that just changes, so that's hard to say. Yeah, so you start with like one each per school, and then does it shift? But like, yeah, people leave, kids leave, and they come.
The kids at school, my kids go to, everyone has a problem. I'm hoping that's the case across the board as well, so it's the round. Okay.
Yeah, one
I was
district
also in history class, and they had interactive projector.
They did have
I don't know if
full-time
everybody has that, but
she was there all the time, and then I think she had like full-time.
I think it's a great ad. We didn't have that Friday, but he kind of just wrote the story's life.
Like a half of the week, yeah, 3 5. So she would like go around to different districts.
Everyone's getting an A next class.
It's hard to say.
Oh, I did see
where you have it's a better so, but it is one of those pieces that in a perfect world, everyone
right here.
that's my
I'm thinking now. If you dream it, it will happen. 3 minutes. Move the list. Listen, getting more there was a challenge.
But it's, yeah, it's based on what you incorporate with kids and mind to need to.
So when you say staffing on needs, what do you mean?
What I want.
I think you guys have to be a little specific so that when we look at this, unless Rob is gonna like make sure he knows.
I got it.
I also, when I came up with this,
Let's glance at it.
tailor different aspects of this group. So, if you have marine science school, more people that are trained in science, so like tailored to the specific needs of this group. We are now in a place where our budget is so limited that it just allows us to give everybody what they need. But if we were in a place where it's like the utopia of here, which is what we were told to do.
I was curious, so I think I remember it was this falls under it. I think I asked a while ago, how was I going to use it?
But I guess you want to the teachers first, and then but I mean, like you were saying about Strive, it's easy to drop someone to the other thing, right?
Because you can have a really, you can have a really small school that has you can have a really large school that has very little money. So it's really going back to the population has a factor because I do think that in a perfect world, and you would have X amount of people based on the number of kids, this number. So if there were 200 kids that were in the that would be 4 interventions. If it was 150, it would be 3. If it was 100, so right now it's equals 1. And so I think that one would be very challenging.
So then what you're saying is allocation based on the population. But then put population because I didn't sorry. I want to talk to Pat for this.
So you were going to add something.
That's okay. So for budget, so like, I was curious, we knew...
1 minute to keep dreaming big.
I don't think I got an answer. I asked a while ago at the board of ed, like how much is the school gap or is allotted? Like for example, trying to like we're gonna do so many fundraisers, like, and then you can replicate it now. We have like one next weekend, and like we have to raise like an crazy amount of money like every year. Like, trying to pull money like we could raise $70,000. Like where is the money from? Like where we doing taxes for that we have to raise not just like $70,000 in addition to that like nobody has. Like that. We have to, and I think some of those like field trips, so like why is it not already allocated to projects and just like regular offices?
Okay, so wrapping up your last clause.
Like why was it because when you're thinking about the foundation, you take a school like computer science, maybe there's a lot
Okay, wrapping your last clause. So the groups had an opportunity to, like this group here said, dream Disney, dream big. Now what I would like for you to do is look through your brain dump, and I want you to elevate 3 topics or 3 areas that you think are the most critical. If you had to make a decision today of what you want us to present to the mayor, to the council, to the BET, what are those 3 key areas or 3 big ideas that you think are critical for us to keep in mind as we plan the budget, given your current income? And I want you to rank them first, second, and third. So we're giving you 15 minutes to debate amongst your group after your Disney list has been completed to select your 3 biggest priorities from that list. 15 minutes.
No, because I'm thinking also has to be realistic.
They don't know which ones they want. They're gonna number them.
For me, I have to think realistically for what might be, look at the budgets, it's really filled up as a little small, but I really do like the more enrichment and after-school programming. More enrichment and after-school programming. I just think the kids, they enjoy school more when they have activities to do.
With their friends.
I think that,
Yes, we can.
as they get older, less successful. So, when it's now, that would be great. You want to get 100 kids to go there, like a small.
Oh, from all the budget numbers?
That's what I said all the time.
From all the time that I asked them to calculate my budget.
Very blessed that
Yo me llamo todas las semanas.
so my kids are out, but I feel like a jerk, and then they can't realistically raise that amount of money for like over
You can have
I don't know if it brings much to or whatever.
You have to go into the law.
Oh, sorry, they're at one. So what
One night in Boston.
Yeah, it's challenging. This is where you're not
$700. Right? Like I always, whatever I give my kids.
I think to make sure everything gets above. And that's just like any
Green on your I'm taking pictures. I've been taking pictures of my nose all day.
Yeah, this is what we want, a swimming pool, and
Swimming pool?
Hale, not just high school, Harmony Middle School.
I'm looking for right here in his gym. Somebody else is telling I'll get in trouble with myself. No, just listen, I'm listening a lot. That's what makes a lot of sense.
But I'll tell you, that's part of the scene yeah, and I'm someone, I don't want to make my family. So I was before I was a doctor, I'm a cabinet. I would never propose to take my back because I just don't think it's like if you talk to the economist, the higher your degree, the higher your range. So it's not for everyone. But I'd rather have that degree than decide to become a cabinet maker, be a cabinet maker, and then try to sell I feel like, the inequality in society.
No, I agree. Even in my age bracket now, I'm still outside of so like my head, I'm looking at my like you really don't have to go to school. I'm over here paying thousands and thousands for student loans.
That's because the price of the school is crazy. $60,000, $70,000. And in my opinion, community college forever, right? And then these other ones that are you got to get rid of affirmative action. It's legacy. I think you have a legacy admission, right? Because your dad went to the school. But you could have been the biggest in the school, but you get into the school, right? But then somebody is busting his butt, gets a much better grade, and everything doesn't get in, right? But then you're saying, oh, I think that's a disgrace, though. That we're moving back to that stuff, but then the ones attacking the legacy.
I got even know
California not got the legacy.
I got free lunch at home.
Yeah,
but not free breakfast.
No, it's not free breakfast. Yeah, we didn't want to lose it. We didn't want to lose it.
And somebody said, you got the same little kids. It feels like legit. Putting $2 million. Like 100.
Looking at it.
Yeah. Okay, you got a man over there. Yeah. Okay, I'm the trash man. Just the no, that's also where are we seeing first? Are we seeing it in that one or? Is there another one you want on the table?
You could see it? I mean, I know.
additional staff is a big umbrella, right? Because it's like, how do you get additional staff?
I associated it together with my design.
Maybe we should just do a whole new sheet.
Clean it up, clean it up.
My mind's very like, list and organized.
List and organized.
Parents that are willing to do that, I would prefer, if I could not afford it, for him to go with all his buddies to New York. They never went to the museum when they were so
Right.
We're done. We're done. Everybody wants
Great thing, studying the aura, the summer games. But you go in different seasons too.
Oh my God.
Everyone's using
I don't know if there's another like question thing.
Yes, of course. Lindsay, nice to meet you.
This is totally a different debate. The thing is, potentially, even if improving buildings, whatever is being asked,
You have about a minute and a half, so you can start wrapping up your thoughts and start deciding who your group presenter is going to be.
No, I'm good. You rock.
there is so much work still to be done on the buildings.
Hey, Lindsay, you're the group spokesperson. You're good, dude. Yeah, I would put. You're good, you know. Can I go first? You don't know what's about stuff, so you don't want it to
Things I can feel.
No, you make a good point. The way I read it is by funding, so if the bus is costing so much of it, is there something that can be done to funnel costs to take care of those big things so that it lasts? That's the way I read it.
Like making sure that they have classrooms for all subjects, you know, just so that it's not that Can I give this to He didn't know. No, I didn't.
Hey, wrap up your thoughts. So really quickly, I need you to decide on a facilitator, a presenter. And your presenter has 45, they have to do the 45-second, imagine 45 minutes, we've never given. 45-second elevator pitch of your number one priority So you have to make sure you pick someone that's concise. It's 45 seconds.
It's not true, I trust you.
Talking about your number one priority.
What?
That's why. You're the most professional policy.
What does that mean?
No, our number one, I think it's probably best for someone that can speak very close to it.
You see, I was going to give you that with that.
Number two, maybe, yeah.
Overly determined to dominate.
I was surprised I was like started.
Okay. We're going to start with Dr. Lewis's group over here. Who's your 45-second elevator pitch facilitator? Let's give
Thank you very much. So our group ranked expanding our co-teaching program as our number one priority. We see the benefits that it's had in schools that have put it in place, and the benefits that it's had in middle schools and high schools, and to expand it at elementary level would just benefit children immediately, and we think it would also help with teacher retention because it's lessening the workload, it's providing more impact to students, and giving everybody more chance at better teaching.
We're going to have this fabulous group with Ms. Allison.
We discussed teacher retention, attracting teachers and keeping teachers. We know that for student knowledge and for improved outcomes in students is very important. We also discussed the funding for special and more adequate funding for special programs, pathways, career pathways, IB, dual language programs, and other alternatives, and teacher educational resources.
45, I want to stay to protocol. Thank you so much. We had a group here that had a major debate, so who's your facilitator?
I'm Heather Dunn. I'm a high school teacher at North High, and one of the things that I think would have immediate impact also from the city side is that sometimes our buses are not that full, and if I could have kids stay after school to work with me one-to-one, I think it would really make a huge impact for some of those kids who just need a little extra time. And I would love to see the city do a kind of a collaboration with TMP and the high school, or the school in general, to look at transportation. So transportation is a huge budget item, and I have been looking into New York City a lot of times. Kids are all given, I guess they just expanded the weekends, but they're given bus passes. So if we could give each kid in Norwalk a bus pass to use the city bus, so they can stay after school and get home, I would love to see that. And I think it would make a big impact immediately.
I also saw staffing as another big priority, right?
Hi, my name is Marlene Brandon, and I am a parent. And the first priority that our group came up with was equitable resources for all children so that everyone has access to special programs, to field trips, special events, to the curriculum on all levels, whether it's transportation, whether it's books, whether it's instruments, so that everybody has equal access.
So our group came up with, we wanted more funding for magnet schools, safety, field trips, buses, and after-school programs, and last but not least, arts. Yes.
Well, we'll have a protocol, but it's staying within the 45 minutes, so I'm gonna let it pass. 45 seconds, I keep saying minutes.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Lisa Williams, I'm a parent at Wolf Pit. It's kind of what everyone's been talking about tonight, but we really thought the number one focus was staff, really to increase the staff positions. I know my son is at NECC and like there's really a need for all the special ed teachers there. And then also retention, because we have some amazing teachers in the district, so how do we keep them?
Presented by the Silvermine. We really discussed human resources, people over programs, both certified and non-certified, ensuring that we have the staffing we need for the pathways in different school populations. Super important, providing the professional growth, professional learning for the programs that we have, so that people that are doing those programs are able to continue to grow in their work, and then really ensuring that we are able to bring enrichment and real-world application experiences for our students, as we have multiple type of learners in all of our schools.
Good evening. So our group discussed the quantity and quality of staff. That was a reoccurring theme that came up in all three of our breakout sessions. We felt that it would impact support to general education. It would support our special education students. We could have more paras. We had a lot of conversations about the ratios of students to teachers, so having an appropriate amount of counselors for certain numbers of students. And we also talked about subs and the potential impact on vocational programs.
Hi, I'm Megan Amato. I'm a parent at Silvermine. So, you know, the theme of tonight really seemed like retention throughout the room. And we talked a lot about that. I think keeping these good teachers really ties into our kids being able to meet the math and reading standards. But in order to do this, I think we need to find some better recruiters to help us find more good teachers, especially as we're losing them throughout the district. And finding out why our teachers are leaving, having some surveys to get those data points so we know how to retain the teachers that we do have. And then finally, we thought that tied into this is that our teachers need more planning time during the day, and potentially that's another reason that teachers might be leaving.
We talked about staffing as well. We talked about staffing as well. We talked about retention. Yes, I was talking about retention, but we need more staff. There's a big increase in MLL and SPED needs, but the staff hasn't met that same rise in qualified. They haven't kept pace. And also the resources equitably offered across schools that are within our own district. But every school has different access to grants. There's no baseline for what a Norwalk Public School offers every kid, regardless of what school they're in.
I think we went around all of the groups, right? Great. So I want to thank everyone for all of the feedback today, because all of this information, one, there were some common themes across the room that I think will help us elevate to the top of our priority list as we think about planning forward. I heard teacher retention, which is something that has been top of mind for the team over the course of the past few months and years, I think, years. Planning time is something that we've advocated last year for, and continues to be top of mind because we know the importance of that. And I know transportation and other resources are also critical, and I heard that throughout the conversation this evening, providing support. I just wanted to welcome Hope Wyatt, who's here, our head of the Para Union. Thank you for being here this evening. And I know we have Dr. Moore, the head of the NASA union, which is the principals union, but she's here as a principal, right, today, Dr. Moore? Or both. So thank you for being here. But this information is going to really help us kind of elevate the conversation, and we will continue this dialogue. As Mr. Osmani articulated, in November, we are going to have a second session, and we're hoping to have the people that are in this room join us again, because it will give us a time to bring together this information, more information of what we've learned from conversations with our school leaders, our central office team, and other personnel throughout the district, soliciting feedback also from our different bargaining groups to see what they're thinking and what they're hearing, as well as things that are critical as we plan forward. I'm going to turn it over to our fabulous CFO to just close us out.
Well, again, thank you on behalf of myself and on behalf of the finance team. This is amazing that we've got this much data and quality information. So we look forward to having you again. Just to recap, we have some more opportunities for engagement. We will have another town hall similar to this on the 21st of November. We will share with you the venue for that. And then we will have the Board of Ed will have their own workshop in December on the 11th. And again, we're encouraging members of the council, BET, and other boards from the city side to join us. There will be a public hearing by the Common Council Finance and Claims Committee in February. Again, that will be an opportunity to provide input into the operating and the capital budget. And then the Board of Estimates and Taxation will also have another public hearing on the 26th of March. So please, I think we are trying as a city to try and engage you as much as possible. So please spread the word, share with your families, with your friends and colleagues, to please join us and provide some valuable input. Thank you. This is your budget.
Again, thank you for joining us this evening. I know for many of you this is a very long day, and we really appreciate the time you're spending with us. Your input is invaluable for us to continue to develop and grow what we need to do in the best interest of all of our children across Norwalk Public Schools. I want to end on a really positive note. Today we were at the state level presenting some of our best practices. Actually, the state asked us to go and present to districts across the state, work around our social emotional learning, work around our MLL, and how we're supporting our MLL students, and also how we're partnering with the city as well as our local mental health providers across the city to provide services for our students, because we're becoming a model for the state because of all the great work we're doing. And it happened because of many of the great people that are in this room, as well as many that are not here today. So again, thank you for everything you do, and Norwalk is on the rise.
Schools that have put it in place, and the benefits that it's had in middle schools and high schools, and to expand it at elementary level would just benefit children immediately, and we think it would also help with teacher retention because it's lessening the workload, it's providing more impact to students, and giving everybody more chance at better teaching.
Thank you. We're going to have this fabulous group with Allison.
We discussed teacher retention, attracting teachers and keeping teachers. We know that for student knowledge and for for improved outcomes in students is very important. We also discussed the funding for special and more adequate funding for special programs, pathways, career pathways, IB, dual language programs, and other alternatives, and teacher vocational resources.
45, I want to stay to protocol. Thank you so much. We had a group here that had a major debate, so who's your facilitator?
All right, so, hi, I'm Heather Dunn. I'm a high school teacher at Norwalk High, and one of the things that I think would have immediate impact also from the city side is that sometimes our buses are not that full. And if I could have kids stay after school to work with me one-to-one, I think it would really make a huge impact for some of those kids that just need a little extra time. And I would love to see the city do a kind of a collaboration with TMP and the high school, or the school in general, to look at transportation. So transportation is a huge budget item, and I have been looking into New York City a lot of times. The kids are all given, I guess they just expanded the weekends, but they're given bus passes. So if we could give each kid in Norwalk a bus pass to use the city bus so they could stay after school and get home, I would love to see that. And I think it would make a big impact immediately.
Thank you. And I also saw staffing as another big priority, right?
Hi, my name is Marlene Brandon, and I am a parent. And the first priority that our group came up with was equitable resources for all children, so that everyone has access to special programs, to field trips, special events, to the curriculum on all levels, whether it's transportation, whether it's books, whether it's instruments, so that everybody has equal access.
So our group came up with, we wanted more funding for magnet schools, safety, field trips, buses, and after-school programs, and last but not least, arts.
We're following out a protocol, but it's staying within the 45 minutes, so I'm gonna let it pass. 45 seconds, I keep saying minutes.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Elise Williams, I'm a parent at Wolf Pit. It's kind of what everyone's been talking about tonight, but we really thought the number one focus was staff, really to increase the staff positions. I know my son is at NECC, and like there's really a need for all the special ed teachers there. And then also retention, because we have some amazing teachers in the district, so how do we keep them?
Presented by Elizabeth Silverman. We really discussed human resources, people over programs, both certified and non-certified, ensuring that we have the staffing we need for the pathways in different school populations. Super important, providing the professional growth, professional learning for the programs that we have, so that people that are doing those programs are able to continue to grow in their work, and then really ensuring that we are able to bring enrichment and real-world application experiences for our students, as we have multiple type of learners in all of our schools.
Good evening. So our group discussed the quantity and quality of staff. That was a reoccurring theme that came up in all three of our breakout sessions. We felt that it would impact support to general education. It would support our special education students. We could have more paras. We had a lot of conversations about the ratios of students to teachers, so having an appropriate amount of counselors for certain numbers of students. And we also talked about subs and the potential impact on vocational programs.
Hi, I'm Megan Amato. I'm a parent at Silvermine. So, you know, the theme of tonight really seemed like retention throughout the room. And we talked a lot about that. I think keeping these good teachers really ties into our kids being able to meet the math and reading standards. But in order to do this, I think we need to find some better recruiters to help us find more good teachers, especially as we're losing them throughout the district. And finding out why our teachers are leaving, having some surveys to get those data points so we know how to retain the teachers that we do have. And then finally, we thought that tied into this is that our teachers need more planning time during the day, and potentially that's another reason that teachers might be leaving.
We talked about staffing as well.
Use your teacher voice.
We talked about staffing as well. We talked about retention. Yes, everyone talked about retention, but we need more staff. There's a big increase in MLL and SPED needs, but the staff hasn't met that same rise in qualified. They haven't kept pace. And also the resources equitably offered across schools that are within our own district. But every school has different access to grants. There's no baseline for what a Norwalk Public School offers every kid, regardless of what school they're in.
I think we went around all of the groups, right? Great. So I want to thank everyone for all of the feedback today, because all of this information, one, there were some common themes across the room that I think will help us elevate to the top of our priority list as we think about planning forward. I heard teacher retention, which is something that has been top of mind for the team over the course of the past few months and years, I think, years. Planning time is something that we advocated last year for, and continues to be top of mind because we know the importance of that. And I know transportation and other resources are also critical, and I heard that throughout the conversation this evening. In providing support, I just wanted to welcome Hope Wyatt, who's here, our head of the Para Union. Thank you for being here this evening. And I know we have Dr. Moore, the head of the NASA union, which is the principals union, but she's here as a principal, right, today, Dr. Moore? Yeah. Or both. So thank you for being here. But this information is going to really help us kind of elevate the conversation, and we will continue this dialogue. As Mr. Osmani articulated, in November, we are going to have a second session, and we're hoping to have the people that are in this room join us again, because it will give us a time to bring together this information, more information of what we've learned from our conversations with our school leaders, our central office team, and other personnel throughout the district, soliciting feedback also from our different bargaining groups to see what they're thinking and what they're hearing, as well as things that are critical as we plan forward. I want to turn it over to our fabulous CFO to just close us out.
Well, again, thank you on behalf of myself and on behalf of the finance team. This is amazing that we've got this much data and quality information. So we look forward to having you again. Just to recap, we have some more opportunities for engagement. We will have another town hall similar to this on the 21st of November. We will share with you the venue for that. And then we will have the Board of Ed will have their own workshop in December on the 11th, and again, we're encouraging members of the council, BET, and other boards from the city side to join us. There will be a public hearing by the Common Council Finance and Claims Committee in February. Again, that will be an opportunity to provide input into the operating and the capital budget, and then the Board of Estimates and Taxation will also have another public hearing on the 26th of March. So please, I think we are trying as a city to try and engage you as much as possible. So please spread the word, share with your families, with your friends and colleagues, to please join us and provide some valuable input. Thank you. This is your budget.
Again, thank you for joining us this evening. I know for many of you this is a very long day, and we really appreciate the time you're spending with us. Your input is invaluable for us to continue to develop and grow what we need to do in the best interest of all of our children across Norwalk Public Schools. I want to end on a really positive note. Today we were at the state level presenting some of our best practices. Actually, the state asked us to go and present to districts across the state, work around our social emotional learning, work around our MLL, and how we're supporting our MLL students, and also how we're partnering with the city as well as our local mental health providers across the city to provide services for our students, because we're becoming a model for the state because of all the great work we're doing. And it happened because of many of the great people that are in this room, as well as many that are not here today. So again, thank you for everything you do, and Norwalk is on the rise.